In this video, we're going to showcase 10 custom desks that are made with off-the-shelf EMT conduit and maker pipe connectors. And if you're unfamiliar with these two materials, EMT conduit is something you can get at different places like Do It Best or True Value hardware stores. You can find it in Lowe's and Home Depot, usually in the electrical aisle. And then the maker pipe connectors are something that we manufacture in upstate South Carolina, and you can build things with EMT conduit, and you don't have to do any welding. You just use a rotating pipe and tube cutter to cut EMT conduit, then you use a 5mm hex wrench to assemble connections, and then there's all kinds of different connectors that you can use for different things. And we're going to look at desks that are made specifically with EMT conduit and maker pipe. And this first one is from Jacob, and this was pretty awesome. As you can see, it's a pretty large L-shaped desk that he put together. And I think if we look through the photos here, we can see a few different ideas, including, I think there's a photo of just the frame in here. Yeah, here's a couple photos of it. And it's pretty much just, kind of two large rectangles that are combined together in the corner. And then there is some bracing with some 45-degree connectors here. So we can, take a look at it here. It is all finished. He's got 3D printers on there. He's got 3 monitors set up, and it's just really fantastic. I really like the idea that he used of getting the pipe insulation just to kind of add some cushion between the desktop and the frame. I imagine that helps a lot with the vibrations of the 3D printers going. So that's really cool. But there's a ton of connectors in here. We can look at this, and we can see he's using the 90-degree connectors, which is typically what we see to make corner connections. You'll see these really commonly in all kinds of projects, but especially desks, because they work really well to make cubes and rectangles. So he's using a lot of 90-degree connectors. We can see a ton of T connectors all throughout here to add some cross braces for the top, as well as the legs that go down to the ground. He's using, there's 4-way connectors we see down here, a lot of connections in here in this desk, and really great uses of them. We can also see this angled support here for the kind of triangle shape of the corner, which is cool because usually when you have an L-shaped desk, it kind of is a harsh corner, but he added this section here just to kind of make that less harsh, and he's using the adjustable angle hinge connector to add this crossbar from one side to the other there, as you can see. And that's really cool. A lot of cool stuff incorporated into this desk. And then here we can see it all finished and just looks awesome and is a great example of making a custom desk structure with EMT conduit and maker pipe. So thanks so much, Jacob, for sharing this. Next up is a desk that was shared by Brock, and this was put into an office, but you could do the same kind of design, at home if you wanted to. This is really interesting because essentially they just put the desktop up against the wall, and they use the maker pipe adjustable angle flanges here to mount these pieces of conduit that go up at an angle. And there's really nothing touching the ground. It's just going up from the wall and that adjustable angle flange and going up here to another adjustable angle flange that's bolted to the bottom of the desktop and then connected with the end clamp there to hold that together. And so there's quite a few supports going around just like that. And then we can also see in the corners here that they're using the maker pipe flanges, just a standard flange bolted to the bottom of the desktop, and then with some legs going down to the ground. And then there you'll see the 90-degree connector that I mentioned that you'll see a bunch, and then the T connector there to kind of make this corner brace on this section of the desk that sticks out from the wall. It's a really cool desk, really big, as you can see, goes all the way around the room, and just a really great idea. So thanks so much, Brock, for sharing this. Next up is a really simple desk. We actually did a tutorial for making this simple desk frame a while ago, and I'll link that down below if you want to check it out. But essentially, it's pretty simple because there's just 4 vertical legs in the corners. As we can see here, there's one there, one there, one there, and one there. And then essentially it just utilizes the 90-degree connector that we've mentioned a few times in the corners to make this cube shape here. And you just use it pretty much in the top 4 corners and then those back 2 corners down low. And then the rest of the other 2 connections are just these 2 T connectors. And essentially that's all the connections that you need for this. You just need all 8 of those. And then you can essentially just add these cross supports in between the vertical legs, utilizing those 4 connections up top with the 90s to make that cube up there, and then the 90s and the T's down low. And it's really simple. Like I said, I'll link that tutorial down below. But this is really cool, and this is kind of unique because I think he said he had leftover flooring planks down there and actually glued some together to make a desktop. So that's really cool and kind of a unique solution for a desktop. And that's what's really cool about EMT conduit maker pipe is if you already have a desktop or if you have one in mind or have a specific space that you're trying to build a desk for, you can customize the dimensions and your frame really easily to that desktop or that space. So that's really awesome. So thanks so much for sharing this, Wade. A really cool build. Next up is a cool desk that was shared by Nick, and this is really clever because it's meant to be a squat, sit, and stand desk. So if you look closely here, obviously there's no wires, it's not electronic, and I think this was built because he said he's moving quite a bit and wanted something easy to take apart and put back together, which you can do really easily with MakerPipe and Conduit. Like I said, just as 5mm hex wrenches to assemble connections. And then essentially here, it's just 4 verticals like we'll commonly see with the desks, as we can see here, but then it's essentially just the same design on the rest of the frame, where there's essentially just this 3 pieces of conduit that make up these rungs around the sides and back of the frame. And essentially by doing that, of course, he's just using the 90s in the corners, in the back, and then the T connectors that we've looked at in the front to connect those pieces there all the way around. And that's all the connections to make. But you'll notice that this is the same design for all 3 tiers. And the reason that he did that is because you can see this desktop is just made to kind of notch in, kind of has a notch in it so it slides and then locks in place. And so essentially Nick can just take out this desktop, put it on the very top if he wants to stand, put it in the middle if he wants to sit, and then put it at the very bottom if he wants to squat or sit on the ground. And it even has space you can put his legs underneath if he's sitting on the ground as well. So that's really cool, really unique. Haven't really seen a desk like this before, but really easy to make with EMT Conduit and MakerPipe, so I can see why he chose those materials, and it's just a really cool idea. So thanks so much for sharing it. Next up is a really awesome desk that was shared by Hong a few years ago. And this is really cool. We can see, very standard design for the main part of it down low, as we can see down here, where it's just that, simple rectangle to make the normal desktop. But you can see it's also kitted out and really custom because it has this shelf down here for the computer. Just added a few MakerPipe T connectors just to add a rectangle down here. He's using some pool noodles to support the computer and kind of protect it. He's got a back that he added to it with some pegboard on there. He's got an angled shelf at the top. He's got a light hanging off of it, and just a really custom desk, really unique, obviously, for the space. There you can see the dimensions and everything if you're curious. Like I was saying, really cool and really custom for the space and with all these extra features here, as you can see, which is really awesome. And I always love it. It seems like every time someone shares a desk and there's something on the screen, it's usually like the MakerPipe YouTube channel or the MakerPipe homepage. So I always love that little detail that people do when they share pictures. But really cool, Hong. Thanks so much for sharing this. Next up is an awesome desk from Henry, and this is a combination of 2 IKEA desks. And these desktops you can get from IKEA are really popular because they're pretty inexpensive and work great for desks, especially if you use the legs that they have and they give you. But if you want to customize it even more, you can combine the inexpensive IKEA tops with the MakerPipe and EMT Conduit frames, and you get really custom solutions without breaking the bank and without having to weld anything custom, and that's really cool. And this is a great example of that from Henry, because we can see here he's got this custom frame that essentially combines 2 of the IKEA tops together to make this long L-shaped desk, as we can see here. And just a lot of the normal connectors that we've been talking about with the 90s in the corners, the T connectors. We can also see some new ones that we haven't seen so far, which is the 4-way connector, which I guess we did see that early on. But here's the 180 degree. So this is a really great design. And what I like about this is, some of the L-shaped desks we'll see, they'll have a leg here in the middle to support it, which is always a good idea if you've got a really heavy desktop. But these IKEA desktops are usually pretty light. And so this doesn't have any pipes interfering. You've got the full L-shaped desk, and you can get underneath it all the way around, and you just have the legs on the end and then the back. And so you don't have to worry about those getting in the way or interfering. And here's a cool mock-up using the MakerPipe mini connectors, which work really great for modeling out projects. Definitely check those out. I'll link them down below. And then we can see he took that mini model, turned it into the full-size build, and it's a really awesome idea. So thanks so much, Henry. Great build. Next up is a unique desk that Jesse put together for their son. You can see here it's made, like I said, usually we see desks custom for unique features and in this space here. So they've got a corner of a room they wanted to build this for, and essentially just use MakerPipe and 90-degree connectors with the EMT Conduit to make this desk, and they made this custom frame. What I really like about this is they custom made the desktop, and they actually used the laminate that allows you to use expo markers on the desktop. So that's really cool and creative. Then they even added this arm that sticks off, so they said so they can hang a backpack off of, or they can hang clothes, whatever it might be. And it's just a really simple desk, just utilizes the 90s for the corners, T connectors in the back to add that cross brace, and then they got a T connector to add a support going front to back, which is nice. And then they've got some some off-the-shelf couplings to add this bent piece of conduit, and then this bar that can extend off if they want to add this thing so they can hang off books or book bags or clothes or anything like that. So really cool, really simple desk. Just utilizes some of the basic connectors we've been looking at, but a really great custom solution. So thanks so much, Jesse, for sharing this. Next up is another cool L-shaped desk, and this one comes from Bradley. This also utilizes some of the IKEA tops, as we can see here, but they shared this really great mock-up of this frame here, really cool. And we're actually going to do a full build breakdown later this week, so be sure to check that out. I'll show you guys exactly how this frame was put together, and we'll kind of use the iPad and highlight the different connectors and things. This is a really fantastic desk, very similar to the other one we looked at, where it just kind of makes this to combine several desktops from IKEA. It even incorporates the cabinets that are really common for IKEA desks, and it's a really awesome and custom solution from Bradley. As you can see here in place, it looks really cool. So thanks so much for sharing this. Next up is a custom solution that Sue put together years ago, and this is really fantastic because this is meant to be a hobby desk for quilting. As you can see, this is really fantastic, has a ton of storage, has some bars added on the sides to hold up quilts and materials, has a ton of shelves, has a place for a TV up there, a place for a monitor down low, and this is a really fantastic. I think this was made before we actually had the 90-degree connectors. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, and so it's all T connectors to make this. And you can utilize T connectors. You can kind of stack them on top of each other to make corner connections. They're kind of offset from each other as if you were to use the full or the complete 90-degree connector, but you can make the same kind of connection, just kind of stacking T's together, as we can see here. And that's a really good idea if you have a bunch of T's on hand, or if you just want to buy all T's and then kind of make your desk modular utilizing that one single connection type. But this is really cool, really fantastic, and a great example of a totally custom solution for a hobby, which is really fantastic. So thanks so much, Sue, for sharing this. Last but not least is a desk from Rick, and this is really cool because they said they had a really small corner in their room. They just wanted to add a simple workstation, and so they just built one, of course, with EMT Conduit and MakerPipe. As you can see here, has that small stool that slides underneath it. And this one is cool because it incorporates a lot of bends. So like I said, you can cut EMT Conduit and build with connectors with just hand tools, but you can also bend EMT Conduit with a hand tool known as the handheld tubing bender. And we have a full tutorial for using that tool. I'll link that down below. But you can see here kind of a bent corner down here, with the piece going to the back. We can see 90-degree connectors, T connectors. There's a cool bend in the middle here for this piece that goes up. And then we can see they actually attach some drawer slides to the desktop. And that actually allows this keyboard to slide in and out, which is really cool. And actually, this is incorporated. If I remember correctly, I think this is bolted to the connectors, because I think this is the solution that we saw, and then we made a follow-up video kind of highlighting this solution from Rick for adding drawer slides to builds. So it's either bolted to the connectors or the top there. It looks in the back, it looks like it's kind of bolted to the top. Either way, you can do that. You can bolt it to the top, or I'll link that video down below if you want to check out how to add it to your MakerPipe builds and mount it to Conduit or connections. But this is a really cool idea and another great example of a custom solution made for a very specific space and for specific solutions. So this is awesome. Thanks so much, Rick, for sharing this, and thanks to everybody for posting your builds and sharing them with us. These will all be linked down below if you want to check any of them out in more detail. If you're building a custom desk and you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to do our best to help. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.